Well, welcome back to Mr. Obsolete's Vintage Homesteading. Today we're going to talk about tools. Everybody needs tools of some sort, whether you're working on just house chores, light fixtures, things like that, working on your car, lawnmower, garden tractor, tiller, whatever. So there's basic tools that you need. I'm going to start out with end wrenches. Since I made my living with tools and stuff, I always bought the best stuff I could get. These are American-made Cornwell tools. This is the first set of wrenches. I have a full set of them. And they're kind of a matte finish and kind of crude looking, but these things have the best steel of any wrench ever made. I've never broken or worn any of them out. So I have both metric and standard in those. And when I first started using tools, we had a Cornwell dealer, which that's why I started with him, but he wasn't around that long, and after that it was Snap-on, and so I bought Snap-on tools for years and years. And here's a set of Snap-on end wrenches. And if you look at these, they have a lot nicer finish and stuff on them, but they're not as strong as these. Now these, I have two different sets of them, one I bought early on and one later on. And the interesting thing is the quality of them and the price. The first set of these I bought, I paid $222 for them. The second set I bought quite a number of years later was $459 for the exact same tool. And when you're using these, if you had it on a nut here, a rusted one, and you're trying to take it off, the jaws will actually spread on this in a little bit where the ones I bought earlier wouldn't do it. So that's what's wrong with companies we deal with today. They make super stuff and then get a big name, and then they make crap and charge you the same price. So anyway, so what I do is I use these for heavy duty work and these for medium and light work. And the very first tool set I ever had was some Craftsman ones, and those are the ones I worked on things when I was a kid, because we had a big Sears store in a big town there, and all my uncles that had farms and stuff all bought Craftsman tools. I bought, well, actually for Christmas I got this set when I was 12 years old and still use them today. I lost two of them over the years, but they were really good. Boy, the new ones are sure crummy. If you buy them from Sears, they're made in China. If you buy them from Lowe's or other places like that, they're farmed out. Some are overseas and some are in the US. But the new ones, the thickness of the wall here is like double or triple, so they use a lot of metal but cheap stuff. Really bad stuff. This is another real high quality professional grade tool. This company isn't around anymore, Williams, but these were used a lot in the construction and truck and heavy equipment business. Really good stuff. Here's a little interesting story here. This is a Craftsman here. Sears decided that they wanted to get into the professional tool market at one time, so they came out with a set of these and sockets and stuff like that, and they were going to have tool trucks go around to the dealers and shops and stuff like that. And they're an almost exact copy of a Snap-on. The head size here is identical, but you can see that the shank is quite a bit narrower, and you probably can't see it on the camera, but on the box end here you can see that the teeth they've got in here are really indistinct, and these are a lot sharper and stuff. And it's funny because a buddy of mine had bought a set of these about a week after I bought a set of these, and like I say, I paid $222 for them. He bought these for $60 and was laughing about how he skinned the cat and I wasted my money. A week later he took them back to Sears because they wouldn't do the job. They're really bad. I mean, for light homeowner work and stuff they're fine, but if you try using it on something that's hard to take apart, it's going to slip or break, and you're going to break your hand, and going to the doctor is a lot more expensive than buying a good wrench. So here's others. These are what they used in old farm equipment stuff forever, still have a use today, called a crescent wrench, and made by different companies. This is made by Proto, which is still in business today, and this is made by Crescent, the original manufacturer of them. And then you get into specialty wrenches. This has a flexible head on it. It also ratchets like this. And you watch my video when I'm putting my anvil on the stump there. I actually used this because I couldn't get a socket down in there to work on it. And so, you know, if you work on lots of stuff like I do, you need a wide variety of tools. These are some little miniature wrenches here, working in tight quarters, really handy for different things. So your tool investment's going to be pretty stout. But you know, since I do a lot of work on old tractors and stuff like that, here's a little set of wrenches for working on magnetos and ignition systems on antique cars, tractors, and trucks. A little set like this is $145 today. I think I paid about $65 for it when I bought it. And if you go way back, this is what the adjustable end wrench looked like originally. So anyway, we'll talk about the next set of tools. We'll be right back. Well, the next set of tools you need are socket sets. This is a Cornwell set I've had for years and years. The tools that they made over the years, like I say, they get a little bit cheaper every year, but this set today is $550, which is outrageous, but this thing has served me really well. Now, I have never broken any of these, but I foolishly loaned them out at one time, and my buddy busted about half a dozen sockets. You probably can't see it, but they don't actually fit down in the slots because they're thicker and cheaper. This goes way back, and you know, the lock on here is gone, but you can see that it doesn't fit properly. They're too thick. But these little ratchets like this are superb. They fit your hand really well and stuff. And really nice smooth action. You have extensions for getting into different lengths of places. And you have a flexible joint here for, like, if you're doing something at an angle. And then you take this and put it on here like this, just like a screwdriver, turn it on and off quickly. And like I say, the Cornwell stuff is really superb. Now here is your typical cheapo junker Chinese 1/4 inch ratchets, really rough and finishes crude and awful. This was just in a box of stuff I bought at a yard sale one time. Now this one is actually an American made one. You can see how nicely finished it is compared to that. The action's really smooth. You can see they use a lot of metal in this. It's lots of cheap metal. This one actually has high quality steel in it. Has a nice thin shank. And here's an older Craftsman one, and it's pretty well made too. There again, a thin shank, and it fits your hand there. It's got a little bulge in it here and stuff like that. It's got a nice smooth action and stuff. Yeah, one time Craftsman stuff was good. Not so anymore. So that's the smallest stuff you use. The most common size you use is 3/8. And I'll get some of these out here. Get some sockets out here too. Okay, there again, the tools that I use mostly are Snap-on and Cornwell. The Snap-on sockets here, the walls are a little bit thinner than these. And these are older also, but for medium and light work, these are really work the best. And then if it's a little heavier duty, I use the Cornwells because on the thickness of the wall here, in the same size, you can see there's quite a bit of difference in the amount of metal. So what they did on these is they used the same size socket and just did a hole in it, but there again, for doing fine work, it doesn't work quite as well, but it is stronger. And then ratchets. Here's kind of a, this is actually an American made one. It's an old Challenger. It was kind of a mid-grade thing they used to sell at art stores and stuff. And that's better than nothing. I mean, it works pretty good. It's got good steel in it, but compared to this, it's terrible. The Cornwells, you just fit your hand really right. I've never worn these out. This is my favorite one. It's a 1/4 inch with a 3/8 drive on it. Man, for close work on tractors, lawnmowers, and motorcycles and stuff, that's perfect. So here is a snap-on ratchet. I have about half a dozen of them still, but I don't use them that much because they wear out. They're not nearly as strong as the Cornwells. These, you know, the head's smaller for tight areas and stuff. And this actually has a flexible head. I bought that for a special purpose, but these are definitely stronger and better. But that's why if you're working on a lot of different stuff, you have to have a wide selection of tools. Of course, if you're just doing general stuff like that, you don't need that much stuff. Here's a nice breaker bar. It's a snap-on. And of course, then you need extensions like these to get in different spots where the part is away. So anyway, but here's another example of how they cheapen stuff up over the years. This is a set of Cornwell 12-point sockets, and they have a real thin wall, but they're super strong. I've never broken any of them, but sometimes working on equipment, you'll be working in a place where the thing you're working on is way down deep, and you're pulling it out, pulls off, and a piece of equipment eats it, and you'll never find it again. That's what happened here. So I've had to replace a couple of the sockets in here over the years, and it won't even fit in the tray because they're too thick. So there again, over the years they cheapen them up, but still really good stuff. Okay, we'll be back here in a sec. Okay, now we're up to 1/2 inch. That's the size of the hex here. And this is probably the bigger size that you would use for most car work, truck work, medium stuff. They make bigger ones, 3/4 and 1 inch. That's for working on tractors and trucks and heavy equipment. These are all Cornwell stuff again, but you know, this stuff is really superb. They just never break, they never wear out. The unfortunate thing, this is $186 today. This is $249. It's a lot more than I paid for them when I bought them, but still worth it to me because even though I'm thrifty, lifetime tools are cheap over the long run. So anyway, we'll be back with some more stuff. Well, this is the next thing you're going to need is screwdrivers. This is a nice snap-on set. Set like this, about $139. And when I first started out, I liked these screwdrivers better than anything. The whole set of them was only about $6. They're made by Irwin. Hasn't made them for years. I really like the wood handles. They fit your hand better and stuff like that, the grip. But they don't make them anymore. Most of the new ones have a polymer grip like these. These are triangular shaped. They don't really fit my hand that good and stuff, but the thing with these is, you know, they have a lifetime guarantee. So you can see on the tip here, it has two types of metal in it. It has a harder point than the soft here. And that's why, because if you buy your generic stuff like a Harbor Freight and stuff for 20 bucks, they just wear out really quick. On a Phillips tip like this, or the wrong gauge in here, so they tear up the screws. So even though it's painful, buy the good stuff. Now Cornwell, this is a really old one I've had for years and years. I just use it all the time. See all the battle scars on it. They quit making this design and they started selling these, which is a premium screwdriver. They're a German Weha, and they have a simulated peach fuzz on them here for grip and stuff, which I don't like because you're working on a greasy car or something like that. It gets in them, you have to clean them and stuff like that. But anyway, this is the style I like best for me anyway. And then you get into specialty stuff like that. This is a snap-on and stuff, and I use this for doing chainsaw work, outboard motors, small engines and stuff like that, for carburetor work and stuff like that. 22 bucks. That was about 25 years ago. I'd hate to see what it costs today. Anyway, we'll be back with some more here. Well, the next thing we need are pliers. There's a million varieties of them. Each one has a special use. So we'll start out. These are for cutting wire. You can use them to strip electrical wire, cut baling wire, string, all kinds of stuff. This is a Cornwell. And these were made by Diamond Tool for them, which Diamond Tools were really good, but I don't think they're in business any longer. This is one I really like. It's some people call them Nipex and others call them Nipex, but they're made in Germany. These are the best cutting pliers I've ever owned. And, I mean, these are really good. These are superb. This is your just general standard type of plier. Use it for taking stuff off, and you can adjust the jaw width and stuff for different sizes and stuff. There again, Cornwell. These have a flat jaw here. Has multiple uses and stuff. You always need a pair of these for doing things. We've got needle nose pliers for doing real fine work, and you bend little wire or take screws off and stuff like that. That's your standard one. There again, a Cornwell. Here's a extended version. These are snap-ons, but these things will last you forever if you don't abuse them too bad. Now these are an old design called water pump pliers, and they were used on farms a lot and stuff like that, and you can adjust them. Lots of different, and these you can really get down and stuff. Putting a lot of pressure for doing pipe work and stuff is really good. The other ones that I use, and everybody uses too, are vice grips. These you can adjust them for the amount of tension, like if you got an old rusted bolt you want to take out or something, you can pinch it in there and squeeze it down and take it out. Now this one has a straight jaw. This one has a curved jaw. This works really good in doing pipe work and stuff like that, exhaust on small engines, different things. And here's a little bitty one. I use these for pinching off fuel lines on lawnmowers and stuff. And serrated jaws all through here, so you can do a lot of different things. But the sad thing about these, they're made by Irwin, old-time U.S. company. And the last time I looked at them at the store, they were made in China. And man, the metal isn't nearly as good as these. I mean, I've had these probably 35, 40 years, and they're still doing their job. They've never worn out. So anyway, we'll be back with some more. Well, the next tool we need are hammers. There's a million varieties of them, so you can never have too many. This is just your old generic antique hammer for doing woodwork. That for pulling nails, and has a nice flat face for beating the nails in. It's a nice old hammer. I've had it for years. And this one has a little magnetic tip, and you put a tack in there and stuff, and then this is for doing upholstery work. There again, a specialty hammer. This one is for doing body work on cars and trucks and stuff. And you get into your standard ball peen hammer. These are used for just about everything. You got a nice flat face here, and the tip here. You can do rivets and all kinds of different work. And of course, they come in all different sizes and weights and stuff. And then you get into specialty hammers again. This is when you want to beat on something that you don't want to mar it, so it's made out of rubber. And if you need to put some force into it, this is what's called a dead blow hammer. Both of these are. And they're hollow in the center, and they have BBs in there, sometimes lead, sometimes steel. These are both old snap-on ones I've had for years, but I don't know if you can hear that or not. But when you come down on it, something, the weight of that stuff comes back, and when it hits, that energy is imparted into whatever you're doing, and so you can put a lot of extra energy in it. Now this hammer here is just a small sledgehammer. This would be used for blacksmithing and just general beating poles into the ground, all kinds of stuff. And the last one we'll show you is just a little antique one I found a while back. It's all metal and stuff like that. It's fairly heavy, but it's fits your hand really good and stuff. And I use this for doing rivets. because you can get in a tight area. You can hear him. So it works really good for that. So there again, you can never have enough hammers. So those are the basic tools you need, and you know, you'll have to invest a fortune if you work on a lot of stuff like me, if you do it over time. But like Cornwell Tools has an interesting deal, because a set of end wrenches like I have, and today it's almost identical, it's $680, which is outrageous. But they have a secondary line, which is a kind of a poor man's line, I guess, or homeowner farm tool and stuff, called Blue Power Tools and stuff, and they're probably pretty good. I mean, you can buy Chinese stuff and it'll get you by, but boy, I don't use it. It's a good way to get hurt. A buddy of mine who was a mechanic, he used really crummy tools, and he always had bandages all over his fingers, and he'd always breaking his fingers and stuff like that because he was using crummy tools and stuff. And so I loaned him my tools for a while to see, and pretty soon the bandages disappeared, didn't break his hands up anymore and stuff like that. His jobs got done a lot quicker and he was a lot happier. So I didn't want to ruin my tools like he did his, so I took them back and started using his old one. Pretty soon here comes the bandages, and numerous times he broke his hand. So, you know, cheap tools are not worth it. So I'm just going to recommend buy the best tools you can afford, and just start out. If you don't have any now, just buy a basic set. Don't buy one of the kits that has everything in it. It's really low quality and it's throwaway stuff. But you know, buy a good end wrench set, a good screwdriver set, a couple pliers and things like that, and just kind of build it up over time. So anyway, there's Mr. Obsolete's take on tools. Vintage is better as usual. We'll see you on the next video.